This video may not be strictly about collecting, but it is about a hobby in the form of a video game. Let me talk to you about my last 10 years with the franchise of Destiny. Before any of my current loyal watchers click off this video, I realize a lot of you don't play video games, and those that do probably aren't into Destiny. But I think you're going to find an interesting journey that may end up showing you how Destiny leads to me being here with you now. So I hope you'll stick around. The initial Destiny, affectionately referred to as just Destiny 1, launched September of 2014. Now, at the time of this recording, that's a few months away. So it's not strictly a 10-year period of the main games and so forth. You know, there was an alpha demo and a beta demo, and then the actual game was released in that order. Prior to that, I had seen some E3 footage, some online scuttlebutt, some rumors and stuff. It was touted essentially as being Halo Plus. Bungie, who developed the game, was like, they're going to take what we learned from Halo and make this big, expansive universe with deep story, deep lore. We plan to support this for at least 10 years and give you this big, long, interconnected live story with plenty of moments of you had to be there. And no one really understood what that meant, because it really was the first of its kind, although drawing from Halo and World of Warcraft and other games with elements that Destiny kind of mixed together into its own perfect little smoothie, right? We didn't know that. We didn't understand that. It seems so... 10 years seems so far away, and it's like, how are you going to do this? And I'd seen people that were into Warcraft. So I'm like, I don't want to be one of those people. Like that stereotypical, like we've all seen the South Park image of the guy just sitting there. We didn't want to be those people. So it was difficult for a traditional video game player who's been with it since Pong consoles and black and white TVs all the way to now. It was really hard for me to grasp. Now, I was a PlayStation 4 owner at the time. I did still have, Xboxes lying around, stuff like that. But PlayStation 4 was really my mainstay at this time. I had become a pretty valued member of the community online. I became part of what was called the PlayStation MVPs. We got access to go to things like E3. And that particular year, the year of Destiny's release, I was slated to go. But I couldn't make it because I was starting a new job. And that job was really important to me, so I had to stay. But it did allow me digital access to some codes, as well as some cards that there was some that were there for me. And I got sent a code for the Destiny 1 alpha demo during that time, which is right around this time of year. So that's where this decade thing happens. And, I played it, and I had had a few beers initially, and I was just like, this is really cool. This feels great. But I don't see what the big deal is. It didn't feel like anything too far beyond what I'd played before. I just didn't grasp what they were going for at the time. But I really enjoyed it and looked forward to the beta, which was going to be a public beta. Everyone could play, right? So that comes out, and it gets its hooks into me, and I was playing it incessantly, putting YouTube videos up talking about my experience and playing with folks and experiencing things and not understanding stuff and using the wrong words for things. It was a lot of fun, right? And Destiny is mainly comprised of two elements. A traditional video game is one person playing, a human being playing against a bunch of computer-driven enemies. That's player versus environment, PvE. And you have players playing against each other, player versus player, which is called PvE. So the traditional stuff, PvE, competitive, PvP. So we'll be using that. And they're a mixture of this, where you could earn these random weapons with different perk sets, and you could find the same weapon with two completely different sets of attributes that modify the base behavior of a weapon in such a way that makes it more or less effective depending upon the random thing, the dice that got rolled when you got it. You could take those weapons into PvP and fight against other people. So there was an advantage of really grinding out the game, getting the best gear, armor and weapons alike, to really kind of boost your abilities, boost your gunplay, your gameplay. and be that next level player in both spheres. It was really addicting in that sense, and it just sucked me in. It was all I could talk about practically for months leading up to it. The full game comes out. I start to understand what they're going for. Knew there was more content that was coming, but still not fully, just by virtue of not having ever experienced anything like this, what was going to happen. So we experienced the whole game. Then later a large encounter called a raid comes, where like teams of 6 go in for this massive, hours long thing, which has some of the best gear in the game. That was a whole thing. And during all of this, from before the alpha all the way up, Twitch and live streaming of gameplay was really coming into the mainstream, as the PlayStation 4 and other consoles out at the time had it built right in. So if you weren't playing the game, you could watch a YouTube video about, strategies or like just, cool moments and things like that. People were just really communing around this game. I started live streaming from the PlayStation 4, enjoyed that sense of like getting in touch with people and understanding how that game works, and how streaming is and how much of a sense of community it can bring. I met thousands of people through Twitch and Destiny in the early days alone, let alone over the last 10 years, crying out loud. Some stuck around, some didn't, right? And as a result of that, I got really serious about playing the game at a certain skill level, and I had certain circles that I ran in where we would do end game content, the hardest stuff, several times a week, to not just get gear, but to teach people how to do it and hopefully spread a skill level throughout the player base. And I was so enamored with this concept of being able to teach people how to play stuff and be a part of this group. But I stopped drinking alcohol of any kind for over 9 months, which, if you know me, that's a big deal, right? Because I just wanted to make sure I was sharp at all my game at any time if someone needed help. Something as simple as that, right? When's the last time a video game made you make a life change that big, even for a few months, right? It's crazy. And then the first expansion comes out. It's like, ooh, here's a little more story. Here's some different style weapons and armor and stuff. And then there's another expansion. And the following year, this big expansion they call a common expansion comes out called The Taken King, which has become a part of video game vernaculars. Like, we're like, this game needs a Taken King moment where it resets everything, it learns from its mistakes, and starts you not over again, but kind of levels the playing field in a fair and equitable way that makes it easier to do the things you want to do without removing the challenge that compels you to play in the first place, right? And this is just the first full year, and it's nuts. Like, I could probably talk for an hour about the first year of Destiny alone and all of the different things that it brought. Second full year of Destiny, brought us through to what they call the Rise of Iron, which is another common expansion, not as big as Taken King, but certainly large in its scope. And then the third year came to a close with a free expansion called the moments of the Age of Triumph. Age of Triumph. One of my favorite moments in Destiny, where they just kind of said, "Here's all the playing pieces, have all the fun, everything's relevant again, go for it." And we just had a blast. And there was even a moments of triumph aspect to this, where if you achieve certain things and you check off all the list, it would unlock a code where you could buy a t-shirt commemorating those achievements with your name on the sleeve. I have all of the moments of triumph t-shirt except for last year's, because I just didn't care. Just being honest. But it's just been this thing. It was so ingrained. People were constantly talking about it. The community was vibrant. Live streams, videos, charity events. We were raising money for St. Jude's. Millions of dollars, many times over, have been raised for St. Jude's just through the Destiny community alone. So just as we're coming out of moments of triumph, Age of Triumph, there was this convention. This is the third year of it, I believe. Well, it had to have been third year tops, second or third year. And at the time, it was called Guardian Con. It's now called GCX, and is not Destiny focused. But back then, all Destiny. Boom. Artists, creatives, content creators, the top tier players, and fans alike. Everyone's invited. You go down there in Florida for 3 days and just have a blast. We got to see top tier PvP players play right in front of you on massive screens. You could see everyone's thing, and it was like stadium seating. It was like watching a sporting event. People were cheering and carrying on. It was amazing. I would love to replicate that experience again because it was just so much fun. And I was there with some friends that I had locally in Iowa, where I was living at the time, along with friends that I had met from all over the place, some friends I had from before. We rekindled our friendships because Destiny was like a bunch of people there. And it was the first real vacation that I've taken as an adult. You know, you're like, dude, you're 47. How could that be the case? So if you go back, when I was in the Marine Corps, all my vacation time was taken up by either moving from duty station to duty station, visiting family on specific holidays, which I don't count as vacation. That's not a vacation. That's a holiday. It's different. And then you have, of course, once I got out of the Marines, now I'm in the private sector, but now I start the music thing again. All of my vacation time was used up always for band-related stuff, because we'd go out of town and have to take time off here and there for this and that. And then, of course, the occasional holiday like Christmas or something like that. I would go visit family, something like that. No real vacations to speak of. And no, touring is not a vacation. It's work, okay? So then you get into that next phase of life where now I'm in Iowa, and the jobs that I had, yes, vacation was offered, but I didn't really have anywhere to go. There was nowhere I wanted to go, and not really anyone to go with either. I was mostly single at the time. So you fast forward to 2017, and there's this Guardian Con, and all my friends, you know, locally, were all gearing up to go together, and we went, and it was the best. It's a big life changer, you know, going from 23 when I went in the Marine Corps until, you know, my year of hitting 40, having my first vacation. Like, that's insane to think about. Destiny did that. For better or for worse, however you might be scoffing if you're not a fan, it did that. Destiny 2 comes out fall of 2017, and, you know, regardless of what you may feel about the initial release of Destiny 2, it was a hard thing to do as a fan, because you had to basically start from scratch. They made every effort to link the stories together, but they, you know, welcome with open arms new players as well. But that launch kind of, like, my streaming got even more intense to a certain degree, because I'd made the decision, not only am I playing this hardcore from start to finish, I'm also playing on 3 consoles. I'm playing on PC, I'm playing on PS4 and Xbox, and I'm progressing them all, right? So I was really no-lifing this game. And the weekend before, I'd lost my job anyway, so it was like, okay. So I thought I was going to retire from this company. We part ways, and now it's like, oh, well, I gotta really double down on this content creation while I can. And I did, and Destiny was at the forefront of it, for sure. It always was. It always has been when it comes to live streaming on Twitch and gameplay related stuff. And within a couple months, I ended up meeting a few different people, one of which in particular I found of particular interest. We formed a friendship and a bond, and we agreed for me to move down to the southern part of the Houston area of Texas. And so I picked up in 2018, and I did that. And it was kind of nuts. It was like right before the move, a big expansion came out, and I was just grinding the hell out of that, trying to get as much done as I could, so when everything was settled and I was fully moved in and ready to go, I could, you know, pick right up where I left off. And again, I met them streaming Destiny. That's how I got to Texas in the first place. Streaming Destiny all the way through the entire time I was there, over a year and a half. And then the Game Chasers guys got in touch, and we ended up doing, you know, what they wanted me to be part of the movie, which, you know, they basically, Chris from the Game Chasers said, come on up here, you should live here, you'll be much happier. And he was right. I moved up there, met them, we did part of the movie. that changed my life. So again, wouldn't have been part of that entire thing, the whole Game Chasers family and the Adventures in Game Chasing film, without Destiny getting me to Texas and then up to DFW by way of being active on YouTube. Because again, you see where all this links together? It's kind of crazy. So I end up here after that movie's done, still playing Destiny. Pandemic hits. I end up in a hotel because of the housing shortage and everything, and the internet's not great there. So I would play Destiny fairly often, but streaming it, forget it. It just wasn't really that viable with the internet speeds I had. So I kind of lost touch with that part of the community for a long time. But fast forward, about a year or two, and I end up meeting my wife at two of my best friends' weddings, whom I met here. I met them here. So again, without Destiny, I don't move from Iowa to Texas, to DFW, meet them, then meet her. And now we're in 2023. We move in together, get married. She's a big part of getting, my birthday present last year was an Xbox Series X. We immediately got the expansions for Destiny so I could play out in the living room where it was, mostly more comfortable, in addition to having it on PC in here, so it didn't feel like work playing the game, and it helped. It was really nice to just pick up the game and play whenever I wanted to. And that's just the life changes, the direct life changes. Never mind all of the different memories that I could espouse from this game. Talk about the launch of Destiny and all the different expansions that have existed. There's been it's almost too many to mention, nearly 3 a year if you think about it, plus seasonal content and everything else and all that different things. This game that turned into a hobby, that turned into a community, that turned my whole life around. It's insane. I know there's lots of other people making videos like this right now, because we're all waiting to play this last expansion of this 10-year story that has spanned all that time. It's called The Final Shape, and it's going to supposedly tie all this up, not necessarily in a nice big red bow, but it's going to conclude this saga and leave the door open for wherever Destiny goes in the future. Now, I'd love to stay along for the ride and continue playing this game in whatever form it's in for a long time. But no matter what, it's never going to be able to replicate the first 10 years. Because you can't give me something that's that new to me over again. You sure as hell can't replicate Lauren, meeting Lauren and all the different events that led up to meeting her. Right? This is absolutely crazy. But Destiny didn't just lead to those life changes, it led to lifestyle changes too. Because I was so Destiny crazy. I'd get pins, I'd get hats, I'd get shirts. I got physical copies of almost every version of the first 2 iterations of the game that I could until they stopped making physical media. I got a bunch of little figurines that commemorate certain characters in the game, commemorative glasses, hardcover books of lore, flags, posters, you name it. I started collecting Destiny stuff, which eventually brought me to, eventually I got into toy collecting. And it wasn't because of Destiny, but the collecting bug was biting again, but it was for this specific hobby. And then I moved kind of, into the toy collecting and taking the movie collecting even that much more seriously along the way. So all these things link together. And it all started because one of my favorite game developers decided they wanted to break away from Microsoft and do something really special and different and take a huge risk. And for me, that risk has paid off massive dividends in my life, in my lifestyle, and memories that cannot be replaced with anything else. So my hat is proverbially off to Destiny. And we'll see you in the final shape tomorrow. And hopefully, traveler willing, we'll see you in the tower. Take care, guys. Cheers.